kicks and giggles, let's just have the same exact thing and maybe it will put you into labor. 4 centimeters, water broke, they can't send me home, yay! Okay, you're like 7 centimeters. And I'm like, oh, thank the Lord. But literally she was gonna come flying out whether I liked it or not. 10 p.m. we called the doctor's office because I couldn't really lay down. I was having such bad back pain when these like tightenings would hit, which I was beginning to think they were actual contractions. And so I was in and out of the shower trying to just help with the pain and stuff. And that is actually where I lost my mucus plug. So around 10 p.m. we called the office and we said, hey, we're not really sure like if I'm in pre-labor or not, but we're kind of wondering what to do. And you know, they say 5, 5, 1. So what is it, like contractions that are 5 minutes apart, 5, 2, 1? I don't know. I forget what it is now. But we weren't to the point where they say to go to the hospital. So he said, well, try taking a shower, take some Tylenol, try to lay down. If they're real, then they'll keep coming and you'll obviously still be uncomfortable. So right after that, we decided to call my mom, tell her what was going on, and then we updated our doula, who was gonna come to the house or meet us at the hospital, depending on what we felt like. Soon after that, I went to the bathroom and just like this hard contraction hit when I was on the toilet. And I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure at least we're gonna go into the hospital to get checked, because I was still doubtful, but it was to the point where I was like, I'm obviously not gonna be sleeping tonight. So like, we might as well go and see what's going on. So after that, we called my doula and said, hey, can you come here? You know, I am starting to have more intense contractions. They were probably like 6 to 8 minutes apart. They were getting more consistent, but still kind of far apart. My doula comes. After we called her, we called my mom, who lives not that far from my doula, and we said, hey, listen, we're gonna at least go into the hospital tonight to see what's going on and get checked. So can you come to the house to sleep here and be with Benjamin? My doula comes first, and at this point I'm on the ball and my contractions are closer to 5, 6 minutes apart, and I'm still timing them, and in between I'm fine, but during I have to stop talking, and I know that that's like a sign that these are real. So I stop talking, I kind of breathe, and I'm sitting on my birth ball and I get in the zone, and then like I come out of it and it's fine. After my mom comes is when we get ready to go. So my doula comes, she's with me. Brandon starts getting stuff in the car. He's like, we're just gonna pack everything, like we're gonna have to stay, you know, even if we just get checked, yada yada. At this point, I'm like, okay, I think this is early labor. I'm probably gonna have to stay at the hospital, but I'm not quite sure. And so as soon as my mom comes, we decide to leave. And so now it's about 11:30 p.m. I know I'm having contractions at this point because I have to stop walking and I have to like lean over, and I breathe, and then we keep going. I get to the car, I have a contraction. Brandon finishes loading. I get in and I'm like, let's go. Let's go right now, because I know another one's gonna hit and we're gonna have some on the way. So he races to the hospital and our doula follows. I think I had 3 or 4 in the car, and Brandon was timing them on the clock, and they were 4 minutes apart. Get to the hospital, I get out, I have a contraction right next to the car. We go in, I have a contraction on the way to the elevator. We get up there, and the doctor had already called ahead to say that we might be coming in. I have a contraction as soon as I get there. So they say, okay, well, let's check you first, see where you're at, and then we'll put you on the monitor and whatever. So I have to change right away. I go and I lay down on the bed, which when a contraction hits is super painful to lay down because it was all in my back. And she said, okay, well, you're about 4 centimeters. And I'm like, 4 centimeters? I'm like, are you kidding me? I thought I'd be like 7, because now they're coming regularly and they're intense. She said, no, you're only 4, and we're not gonna keep you unless, you know, you're like 5 or 6 and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I look at Brandon, I'm like, we are not leaving. I'm not leaving here. No. So they're like, all right, well, let's monitor you for a little bit and then we'll have you walk around. So I'm like, I can't walk? Anyway, so I lay down. Well, I can't lay down. They want me to lay down, I can't lay down. So I sit there and I'm holding the monitors on so they can keep getting Brielle's heart rate. And 15 minutes or so goes by, and I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And I had been in and out of the bathroom because, you know, remember, I had a zinger salad. So I went to the bathroom and I'm sitting on the toilet and I'm having contractions, and then all of a sudden I hear. So I was like, my water broke on the toilet. And so I kind of opened the door, which is like right there, and the nurse's station's right there. And mind you, this is where I work, so I know it like the back of my hand. And I'm like, I think my water just broke. And they're like, okay, you know, well, all right, we'll get a room ready and blah, blah, blah. So they called to get a room ready. So I'm like, great, I'm not leaving now. My water broke. They can't send me home. Yay! So I come out of the bathroom after a few minutes. Brandon had to come in because I was having such a hard time and I was having contraction after contraction. So I go back in and I sit in the little cubicle triage area and they have the room ready. And now it's probably like 1 a.m. I go into the room. So we get to the hospital right before midnight. And then we got to the room around 1 a.m. Once we get to the room, our doula can join us. She comes in, she brings the ball. I'm like, great, because I want to sit on the ball. So I sit on the ball, and this is when they find out that I had meconium. So meconium is when the baby poops into the amniotic fluid, and so every time I was leaking, it was like a brown color. And the danger of this is that if the baby breathes this in, you know, right when they're being born, that can go into their lungs, and because it has all the, you know, poop particles and whatever in it, they're at risk for like breathing it into their lungs and then getting all this junk, and they can get complications from it. So they had to call in the respiratory team, and they notified NICU, you know, in case she had to go there. So that was kind of scary, but I was really out of it. But they're telling Brandon all this, and he's like trying to make sure like I'm not worried, and like he didn't really tell me a lot because he didn't want me to, you know, deal with that. And honestly, I was in the zone anyways that I didn't care what was happening. Like, I was gonna get this baby out, and that's what I was focusing on. I had Brandon text my friend who is an OB nurse where I work, and she came in off the clock at 2 in the morning to be extra support for me. And so as soon as I get into the room at 1, the nurse checks me and she's like, okay, you're like 7 centimeters. And I'm like, oh, thank the Lord. So I know that this is going, and I'm like in the zone. And now they're trying to stick an IV in me in between contractions. And since my water had broken, the intensity had really amped up. And I just was focusing on whenever a contraction would hit, I would do these like low tones of moaning, and I was really focusing on like bringing her down into my pelvis, like almost like pushing her down low. And from what I had read, that's kind of like what your focus should be. So that was my goal. And in between contractions, now I was starting to shake like I did with Benjamin. And so I knew that like it was close. I knew that she was coming and it was gonna be fast. So at 2 in the morning, my friend shows up and comes in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here too. Can you check me again? Because I feel her low. And this is like in between contractions. And I'm like, not saying it as calmly as I am right now because, you know, it was super intense. And I felt that low pain like I did with Benjamin when I was about to push. And I'm like, I feel her low, like I feel like she's gonna come out. And it was just super like, yeah, like she's right there. I get up on the bed, which is super painful because all I want to do is sit on the ball. And to like lay down in bed when a contraction would hit was like, my back, like it's so painful. So I lay down, she checks me, and she's like, okay, so you're like 9, but the last little bit of your cervix, I can push it over her head. And so you're basically like 10 and you're ready to go. She tells the nurse, she actually trained. They call the doctor, who they thought wasn't in-house, but he was in-house and he was waiting. He comes in, my friend says, she's 9, but I can push the rest over the head and she feels like she needs to push. And he's like, really? He was very skeptical. I didn't see his face, like Brandon said that's what his face was like. And she was like, yes, really. And so I'm on the ball, so he gets regular gloves on, and I get up into the bed for him to check, and I'm expecting to get right back off because it's so uncomfortable to be in the bed, and it's flat, you know, not at an incline or anything. He was like, okay, just give me a little practice push. So I practice push, and she almost about crowns. And he's like, okay, let's break down the bed. Like, he turns around to get a gown on. They open up all of this stuff to whatever, do the delivery. And my friend's like, don't push, like let it stretch. And I'm like, I can't help it. Like literally this girl was coming out whether I pushed or not. So he turns back around and another contraction hits and I can't help but push. Like literally when I tell you my body pushed her out, my body pushed her out. I was trying so hard not to push, because I wanted it to stretch so I didn't tear, but literally she was gonna come flying out whether I liked it or not. And so my body pushed again and her head comes out. And he quickly takes the cord that was loosely around her neck and pulls it off. And then literally he's like, okay, reach down and grab her. And I was like, I can't, because mind you, I was expecting to get on the bed and off the bed. So I'm laying completely flat, which is not the ideal position to birth a baby in. And so it was so quick that no one thought to like sit me up or to sit the bed up. But finally, like my doula and Brandon like lift me up. And so my arms reached down and I literally pulled her out with the next push. So 3 pushes, okay? 3 pushes in like 30 seconds, I feel like. I don't know, maybe it was a couple minutes, but like 3 pushes and she was out. It was the most crazy, like intense, so fast, like moment in time that we haven't got any pictures because it was like so quick. And so I pull her out and put her on my chest, and I was like so happy it was done. I was so happy I went into labor naturally. I was so happy that it was quick because that's what I prayed for. And I'm telling you, it was 2:36 in the morning that she was born. Now, mind you, we walked into the hospital just before midnight, okay? So 2.5 hours after we walked in, because my water broke around 12:30 in the bathroom in the triage area. And 2:30 is when she was born. So I was in and out of that room in 4 hours because I left the room around 5 a.m. to go to the postpartum room. So I'm telling you, it was quick. Like when people said, oh, like how was the birth and blah, 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 I was like fast and furious. She came out flying. I mean, literally. My body pushed her out. I seriously couldn't even believe it. But you know what? That's exactly what I prayed for. And I loved the experience I had with her because it was quick and I did it without an epidural or pain medicine. And honestly, even if I had wanted it, like she came so fast, they would not have been able to put it in. They barely got the IV in me. I'm telling you, it was like the craziest experience, but I'm so happy with her birth. I'm so happy that it happened the way it did. And I was in the hospital that I worked at because she had to have some testing done afterwards. And, you know, I'm thankful that I knew a lot of the people that did it and that, you know, that was a load off my shoulder. So with her, after she was born, she did have low glucose, I think it was. You know, I kept breastfeeding her both sides. My friend helped me to like latch her and to get, you know, it going really good. And so it did go up within like the allotted time frame. So they didn't have to take her to NICU. So she didn't need to go to NICU or anything like that. And she did have high bilirubin. On the day we were supposed to go home, they came in and said, all right, well, we're discharging you, but she has to stay another day and go under the UV lights because her bilirubin's too high to discharge her. And I'm like, what? I started crying because I'm thinking I have to go and she has to stay and she's gonna go in NICU. And they're like, no, she can stay in here with you. You can room with her. You know, you're breastfeeding too, so we don't want to like stop that. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, thank you. Like, because I was like, I'm not leaving her. No. So I literally would breastfeed her and sit under the UV lights with my sunglasses because I wanted her to stay under it as much as possible. Was breastfeeding her like every hour or 2 instead of the 2 to 3 because I wanted her to get so much because the only way to get rid of it is for them to like pee and poop it out. Thankfully, she did. The next morning, we got the results on our phones first, actually, before they came in and told us. So we knew we were gonna go home. And we told them, actually, the results are in, can you check it? She was born at 6 pounds, 13 ounces, which is like the perfect size in my opinion. 19.25 inches long, I think. And she's just the most beautiful, perfect girl. And I'll insert some pictures, but you guys can see her now. The other problems she had are resolved now. Yes, she was worth it, even though the pregnancy was rough. Still not sure that I would do it again. But I'm so thankful that she's here, that she's as healthy as she can be, and that I had that experience. It was, I'm telling you, it was the craziest experience, and I'm so glad that it happened that way. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this birth story, and if you did, give it a thumbs up and like this video. Share it with your friends if they also like birth stories. I don't know, I'm weird, like I like to listen to birth stories. There's a podcast called The Birth Hour, and I love listening to it. I don't know. It's so unique. I love that everyone comes into this world differently, and I feel like it's just so cool the way that God, you know, orchestrates it, and every person is unique, and so it makes sense that every story of how they come into the world would be unique. If you have any cool birth stories, let me know in the comments down below, and join us for the next video. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that button down below and join us on Instagram because we would love to build this community, and we would love for you to also visit our blog, which is ourfamilybee.com, and we will see you in the next video. Bye!